Welcome to Azeroth United, a weekly podcast about World of Warcraft. My name is Denethar, and I am your host.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. It's Wednesday night in Azeroth, and we have a great show lined up for you tonight. We're going to be talking about patch 11.1.7, the Legacy of Azeroth, and the release date announcement by Blizzard. We're going to be talking a little bit about the Dastardly Duos and the new feature that's been released for The War Within. We're going to talk a little bit about the end of Season of Discovery and what that means for Classic. And is this a rebirth, or is this the end of an era? How does this affect Classic going forward? And we're also going to be talking about a little bit more about the combat system changes that are coming for The War Within, starting in patch 11.1.7, but continuing on through the foreseeable future. And this is based on an update from the WeakAuras team, so it's definitely a very interesting conversation. So pull up a chair, sit back, relax, and enjoy. I really want to start this podcast off on the right foot. And I've done a lot of, I've had a lot going on this week, and I'm trying to ease back into a more comfortable release schedule for the podcast. And the weather decided not to cooperate. So as some of you may or may not know, a couple of years ago, we moved to Cincinnati, Ohio from Los Angeles. Now in Los Angeles, it gets hot, like 115 degrees where I lived, which was in the San Fernando Valley. It gets really hot. It doesn't get that hot here. Today it was 95, maybe. It was really humid, but about 95. The problem that I have now is that my office, and where I record the podcast and do all of my gaming and all of that sort of thing, doesn't have good air conditioning vents in this room. So I have a fan set up behind me, and normally I have the windows open, but I had to close the windows so I could record. And it's hot in here. It's really hot. I started to put my hair down for the YouTube video, and I was like, I can't. The hair's going up today. It's hot. So there's going to be some episodes where I might be a little less put together if you're watching this on YouTube or Spotify than maybe you might be used to, and that's just the way it goes. So just a fair warning, there might be a little bit of grungy Denethar coming up as the heat kicks in and we start pushing our way through the summer. So before I get to all of the news, I'll talk a little bit about last week, because honestly, okay, so first of all, before I get into WoW, I just want to say a couple words about Andor Season 2. Now, I mentioned this before, but I saw a interview with Tony Gilroy, who's the creator of Andor. So he wrote it and he's the showrunner. He didn't direct all the episodes, but he was kind of the creative force behind the show. He said that the entire show, season 1 and season 2, the budget was around $650 million. $650 million for a TV show. This isn't for I'm going to go buy a movie ticket, or I'm going to buy a DVD, or whatever it is that people buy nowadays. This is streaming for free on Disney Plus. Now, I get that you want to have good content on Disney Plus, but holy moly. Now, do I think it's worth $650 million? For me? Yeah, absolutely. It was fantastic. That was probably one of the best shows that I've watched in the last 10 years. I can't even tell you how much I appreciated it wasn't even like a return to form. There's never been Star Wars like Andor. This is such a different and unique show. It's such an interesting take on it, but it feels so Star Wars. It feels so much more Star Wars than some of the other things that we've been putting out, or that Disney has been putting out recently, including things like Obi-Wan Kenobi and Ahsoka, which I thought would have been great shows, and they were good. I didn't dislike the shows, but I'm never going to rant and rave about how great they were. That is just not going to happen. Andor season 1 was good. It was really good. I loved it. Season 2, even better. And the way that if you haven't watched it, I suggest going and watching it. If you don't have Disney Plus, well, you know what? Pony up, pay some cash, watch the show, cancel it 1 month. It'll cost you like $15. it's worth it. If you like Star Wars, definitely check out Andor season 2. It's really good. So, okay, back to World of Warcraft. Sorry, I just had to get that off my, because I loved that show. It was a great show. Anyway, okay, so a couple things about WoW. So I'm still playing on the Anniversary Realms, Cenarion the Hunter, and I got to rank 9 in the Alterac Valley grind. And I say Alterac Valley, it's this PvP honor system, but nobody does anything but Alterac Valley. It's unfortunate, but I got to rank 9. So Knight Champion, that took me so long. I kept track of it after a while, but I didn't start at the beginning of the week. But I did. It was probably near 100 Alterac Valleys, and that's not even a large number. People are doing double what I'm doing in a week. It's insane, or nearly double. I have to tell you, while I started this and I was like, oh, this is really cool. The first week I did it, it was my first rank. And so I got to like Master Sergeant or whatever. Big deal. You're not doing a lot. Second week I did it was an Alterac Valley weekend. So I was getting double honor. And so I was like, oh, this is easy. I'm cruising. No problem. Third week which was last week, was brutal because it wasn't a holiday weekend. I had to get 256,000 honor, which you're getting about 2,500 per match if you win. If you lose and it's a quick one, you'll get about 2,100. If you lose and it's a turtle, you'll get about 3,000, but it takes you 20 minutes. So yeah, it was really frustrating. And I understand why people get so angry and so offended by lack of proper, and I say proper with air quotes, lack of proper participation in the game. If you do any sort of PvPing, people get mad. If you don't rush, I'm on the Alliance side, obviously. So if you don't rush to the south, people get mad. If you don't kill all the lieutenants, people get mad. If you don't have somebody who's ready to kite, people get mad. I mean, there's so many things in there. PvP in WoW is some of the most toxic people. And I'm going in there with a sense of humor and trying to laugh and smile. And some people are willing to banter with me in that manner. Some people get offended and they double down on being mad. I'm just going to be mad. I don't care. And that's fine. You can do that. But I'm going to be me, and I'm going to be goofy and silly and fun and, say things like, Ninja Turtle power in the middle of a turtle with the horde. People get mad. Some people do. Some people are fine. I get a lot of comments about, lol Dream Scythe, because I'm on the PvE server, which is also pretty funny. But yeah, it's been a journey. So this week, I technically can get to rank 11. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it because I have to get 337,000 honor, and last week of 256,000 was a lot, and I don't know that I could do that again. So, yeah, I might do one rank, so get to rank 10 this week, and then next week when it's the AV weekend, holiday weekend, I'll get to rank 11. That's probably what I'll do, which means that would be 2 more weeks before I can get my mount, but I'd rather have my sanity, honestly. So it's been a journey though, and I'm definitely having fun. But yeah. As far as raid goes, so last night we ran in, and the plan was we're gonna clear Blackwing Lair first, and then we're gonna clear Molten Core. That's night 1, and then night 2 is gonna be Onyxia and Zul'Grub. We're gonna split up into Zul'Grub groups. Well, we didn't go all the way through Molten Core, which was fine. But we killed Nefarian. We got the drop. We got a few good drops. We got a Drake Fang Talisman. We got, oh shoot, I can't remember what it's called now. The sword that drops from Razorgore. And we got a Prestor's Talisman, which is the agility hit neck. And that I had put that one on my BIS list in the very beginning. I was like, look, this is my best in slot neck. This is going to last me till Burning Crusade. And so it dropped, and I was like, we had all these rogues in there, and I felt like, you know what? I'm not going to take this from the rogues. I'll put it in that I need this piece, but it has to go to the loot council, and then they're going to make the decision. And so I put in there something along the lines of, I really need this, but if please make sure you give it to somebody who it is more worthwhile, or something along those lines. Basically like kneecapping myself on that. And they gave it to me anyway. So I got my best in slot neck, which was really cool. Thank you so much, Raid Team 5, for the good loot and the good time. It's such a fun group of people. We have such a good time in there, in the Adept Scholars Society, or ASS, as we like to call ourselves. It's a really fun time. And this is what I have been wanting. I've been wanting to get in there and shoot the shit with some people, and drink a couple beers and have a good time, get some loot. But ultimately, the end of the day, it's about getting together with friends and having fun, not about, oh my gosh, if I don't get my bis, or if I don't parse, I'm going to lose my mind. It's not that kind of guild. We're not those kind of people, and I'm really having a good time and relaxing. So this is the happiest I've been in WoW in a long time. I kind of got this a little bit from in season 1 of The War Within, but the problem there was that we were so frustrated with guild leadership in the guild that we were in, trying to clear Narrowbar Palace, that I couldn't really just sit and enjoy. Every time we would get on Discord, it would turn into a bitch session where we were complaining about leadership. And that's not what I want to do with my time. I want to get on my time and talk about random nonsense and just meander through and talking about movies and video games and whatever it is that people want to talk about. What do you guys think Classic Plus is going to be? Who cares, right? So I'm having a good time is the point. I'm really enjoying the guild. I'm enjoying the people in the guild. Guild leadership is amazing. I'm really happy with it. So anyway, that's, yeah. I could go on and on, but you guys don't want to hear me just sit and gush about how great my guild is. So there you go. But I'm definitely having fun. So, all right. I think that will do. So I ran over to Silithus yesterday and started doing all the quests there. I didn't know that you could do all the pre AQ quests over in Silithus. I'm trying to figure this out because I've never done this before. But I'm really trying to just get in there and I'm going to do all the quests. I'm going to go through and do everything. And man, people are crazy farming these encrypted Twilight texts. Apparently they sell for like 2 gold a pop, and people are either farming them for rep because they want to have the rep when the new stuff comes out, or they're just selling them. I don't know, but it's pretty wild. Everybody's got a gimmick. In Classic, you got to have a way to make money because there's no WoW token, and people don't want to just buy gold because people are getting banned for buying gold. So it's always interesting to see what everybody's edge, or everybody's got a side hustle. So it's fun. I'm having a good time. I'm really loving the anniversary servers, and what I like about it, and we'll get into this more in a little bit when we talk about Season of Discovery, but I like that we know that it's going somewhere. We know that there's a path forward. We're going to Burning Crusade. We're probably going to Wrath of the Lich King, but we don't know that for sure. But we know we're going to Burning Crusade. That, I think, is making people very excited, because a lot of people are saying things like, I'm playing this character now because I want to have them ready for Burning Crusade. And I think that's great. Play the character you want to play, but also kind of plan ahead. Think about the future, even if it's the future of a 20-year-old game. So, all right. That is enough of that. We do have a lot to talk about, so let's get into it.
It's time for the news.
In Blizzard news, so of course the big news is the release date for patch 11.1.7. It is going to release to servers on June 17th, at least North American servers, on June 17th, which is pretty much when everybody expected it to be. The interesting thing about this patch is that we have some really strict scheduling things that are going to be happening during this patch. So we've got the let's start at the beginning. So first we've got the new Arathi Highlands campaign. So this is going to be in the Arathi Highlands. It's going to be Alliance and Horde. I'm sure there will be some PvP type events, even if there's no actual world PvP. This is going to be the new main storyline for the campaign. So they're really pushing up the Arathi in patch 11.1, which I'm assuming means that we're going to get into them more in patch 11.2, but I guess we'll see. The new lore walking feature with Lore Walker Cho, where we're going to be able to get in and we've got 3 different storylines that we're going to be able to do. So we've got Xalatath, we've got the Ethereals, and we've got the Lich King. These are the 3 stories that Blizzard has given us. There might be more in the future, but we shall see. So the interesting thing about this is when you go on a lore walking campaign, what's going to happen is you're going to essentially go through this entire quest chain, and you won't be able to do anything else while you're doing it. You can leave at any time, but you would have to start over. You can't just go and be like, all right, I'm doing this, and then I'm going to go do something else. No, this is what you're doing now. So it's kind of like time walking, but it's lore walking, if that makes any sense. We've got the new overcharged delves because we needed delves to be more complicated. They were too simple and fun for people. So we're going to add some affixes to delves. We're going to add some complexity, and we're going to add some new rewards for delves for things that we will be able to get out of that. So the overcharged delve feature is something that probably no one really asked for, but we're getting it anyway. We've got the new UI options. We have the combat assistant and we have the single button assistant. These are going to be coming with patch 11.1.7. So if you've been looking forward to that single button so that you can clear Mythic Raid, that's coming in patch 11.1.7. The Turbulent Time Waits is going to make a return. The reward, and I mentioned this a few weeks ago, but the reward for this is going to be the Captain Hooktail, whatever, from Tazavesh in Shadowlands. So if you haven't done the Turbulent Time Waits before, because you're like, oh, the mount looks stupid. I know at one point it was like this ugly devil ray looking thing, whatever. This is the time to do it. This is when you want to do time walking. Or Turbulent Time Waits. So we've got 6 weeks of Turbulent Time Waits coming up. We're also going to get Battle for Azeroth time walking with this. So that'll be really fun. And then finally, we're going to get the Greedy Emissaries. This is an event that happened. I don't know when the first one was, but it's going to return the week of July 1st. And this is going to give us recolors of the tier 2 high def models that we got with the 20th anniversary event. So if that's something that you're looking forward to, then check out the Greedy Emissary event. I'm not even sure how that works because I didn't do it last time, but if a reward is worthwhile, we can figure it out. So we'll talk about that. I'll figure out how it works, and we'll talk about that probably next week's show because I want to get it in before the patch drops. So we'll talk about all of that, and we'll go into depth in all of the new features for patch 11.1.7. All right. In the Mists of Pandaria Classic Beta, Blizzard has added, and this is kind of interesting, a Order of the Cloud Serpent now offer a bind on account flight log for 800 gold at Exalted. So basically the way it works is if you get to Exalted on one character, you can then buy this item to send to your alt so that they can learn Cloud Serpent writing without having to get to Exalted themselves. It's like, if you remember back when we were able to buy Cold Weather Flying and whatever the different ones were for our alts, this is the same type of thing. You can buy that once you get to the point where you need to be, then you can now buy it for your alts and send it to them, and then they can get it as well. There's no warbands in Classic, so this is the next best thing. I think this is a pretty cool change. I'm really kind of excited about that because I know a lot of people really like the Cloud Serpent. I never liked it because, first of all, I don't like the animation of the Cloud Serpents with the diving and whatever. But also, I don't want to have to get to Exalted with these guys just to fly a stupid mount that I don't even like anyway. So, so that's coming in Mists of Pandaria Classic. Speaking of Mists of Pandaria Classic, now this is something that I didn't mention before when I talked about the release date for Mists of Pandaria Classic coming on July 21st. But if you, starting on July 1st, when the pre-patch hits, going through July 30th, which is, I guess, a week and a half after the launch, if you create a Pandaren character and run through the starting area, I guess you have to go through the whole starting area. If you do that, you will get a mount for retail WoW for the War Within. So it's kind of like a little crossover. If retail players, hey, come check out, make a Pandaren, check out the new Classic. They did this back in Wrath of the Lich King Classic when you had to go make a new Death Knight, and then as long as you finished the Death Knight starting area, you would get them out in Modern WoW, which I did. So that's pretty cool. If you are interested in that, I would definitely check out Mr. Pandaria Classic starting on July 1st. So it's a little less than a month from now, which is crazy because it's happening, people. Where's the Michael Scott meme? It's happening, people. Yeah, so that's what's coming there. There's not a whole lot of news in WoW. I had a whole thing I was going to write up for the Dastardly Duos. I was watching videos. I was going through the whole thing, and I thought, the reality is, I just don't care. The basics are you have to go fight these bosses. You're going to get a quest, and every week you earn progress towards this. Is a 6-week event starting this week. And it runs through July 15th, which will cut over into patch 11.1.7, which whatever. But yeah, this is a feature that I just really don't care about. I know that they're doing an event right now with Echo versus Liquid, see which team is going to score the most points, because that's really the main thrust of it, is scoring the points, right? Who's going to score the more points, right? Who's on the leaderboard? I don't care. Yeah, no, that's, but anyway, if you are interested in this, because you know what, a lot of people are, and people like different things than what I like. So, if you're interested in checking out the Dastardly Duos, the bosses you're going to fight are the Foe Reaper 5000 and Glubtalk from the Deadmines, the Baron Silverlane and Lord Walden from Shadowfane Keep, Rattlegore from Scholomance, Watchkeeper Garglemar from Hellfire Ramparts, Brogok from the Blood Furnace, Hydromancer Thespia and Mechgineer Steamrigger from Steamvault, and Chronoloord Epic from Calling of Stratholme. Now, here's the thing that I'll say about this. Nobody would have picked these bosses. Like, if you had given me a list of every single boss, of every single dungeon that we have done since I guess since Wrath of the Lich King and earlier, right? Because the most current dungeon on here is Calling of Stratholme. So if we said Wrath of the Lich King and back, pick 10 bosses that are going to be in this event, I guarantee you nobody would have picked these 10. Nobody. I can say that with confidence that nobody would have. Maybe somebody would have been like, oh, I really like Lord Walden. Rattlegore's cool. Nobody's picking Hydromancer Thespia. I'm sorry, nobody is picking Hydromancer Thespia. Nobody is picking Watchkeeper Garglemar from the Ramparts. Nobody. It's not that these bosses were bad. They're just not memorable. It's not a boss that you're like, oh my gosh, that was so good. I loved that fight. It was so fun. When you look at the classic dungeons, the old ones, the ones, even though they were redone in Cataclysm or Mists of Pandaria in the case of Scholomance, people did those dungeons when they were leveling. So they have more fond memories because you're like a young character going through and you, oh my gosh, this is so cool. The Deadmines, and they've got the giant Harvest Reaper, and he's going to attack us, and you've got to get on the smaller Harvest Reaper and fight him off. And fine, I get it. But seriously, this group of bosses, I thought it was going to be raid bosses. Honestly, I was picturing Ragnaros is going to show up, and it's going to be, Gruul will be there. No, we didn't even get that. This is just like the C tier dungeon bosses from earlier dungeons. So apparently this is a very this is like a passion project for someone at Blizzard, and that's fine. I'm not trying to shit on his work, but this is something that I'm not super interested in. I might check it out. I've got 6 weeks to get on there and check it out. Maybe it's really fun. I don't know, but so far no. When you do get in there will be a quest that you can pick up, and when you do the quest, you have to do a couple things, but ultimately you have to you have to win the fight, and that's what you got to do. So, all right. So we've got a bunch of little news items here. I'm gonna table all of these because, quite honestly, it's not really super important. I could just read through stuff to you, but you can get on Wowhead too, and so you probably already know a lot of what's going on. So, let's talk about what's going on this week in World of Warcraft. We have the War Within Season 2, Week 14. The Mythic Plus affixes for the week are Ascendant is the +4 affix. 10 orbs appear every minute while in combat that must be interrupted, purged, knocked, or crowd controlled. This is the make sure that you have all your AoE crowd control. It's like the Razagath fight where you have to have some form of AoE crowd control. Everybody does something, and there you go. Says +4 affix. The +7 affix is Fortified. You know it, you love it, you love to see it. Non-bosses have 20% more health and deal 20% more damage. Fortified and Ascendant are your affixes for the week. The bonus event for the week is the Burning Crusade Time Walking. This one's always fun because it gets you into the Black Temple and you get extra gear. So first off, you're going to get the Sign of the Twisting Nether buff, which will increase Burning Crusade reputation gains from combat and quests by 50%. You're going to pick up the quest A Burning Path Through Time from Archivist for Thrun in Dornogal to defeat 5 time-walking raid bosses or dungeons. So you don't even have to do the dungeons. You can just do the raids. Then you will receive a champion track raid item from the Undermine raid. Then you can also, if you go to Shatrath City, you can pick up Disturbance Detected Black Temple from Vormu in Shatrath to defeat Illidan Stormrage and loot the time-warped Illidari battle plans, and then you will get a Heroic Track raid item from a Burning Crusade raid. And it'll just be scaled up to Hero Track from... So that's a really good way to get a piece of gear. This is good for an alts. Some of you are trying to gear up. Maybe you never geared up your main. Maybe you started gearing up your main and then you burned out on retail WoW and you started playing classic. And then you're like, well, I might want to come back for a little bit. This is the way to do it. The dungeons are going to be Magister's Terrace, Mana Tombs, the Blood Furnace, Botanica, Shattered Halls, and the Underbog. And of course, the raid is the Black Temple. You can go in there and kill Illidan. If you have a Demon Hunter who has, I think if you have both of the Warglaives from Illidan, I believe if you go now, you'll be able to get a quest to have them available as transmog. I think that's how that works. I've never done it, so I don't know the details, but so there you go. Burning Crusade Time Walking. This one I like. This one's fun. These dungeons are fast, except for Botanica is a little slow, but other than that, they're really fast. You can knock through them really quickly, or you could do the raid, or you could do both. And don't forget, if you are struggling to fill up your vault, time walking dungeons do count as heroic dungeons. So you can run 4 of those and get 2 vault slots. All right. The PvP brawl for the week is the Temple of Hot Magoo. Enter the Temple of Kot Magoo in this fast-paced match. For a whole new twist, players will be able to throw the Orb of Power to friendly players in a game of Hot Potato. Beware, they'll also gain the debuffs along with the orb, so choose wisely. We're turning things up to 11 by changing resurrection time to a quick 5 seconds. That's always fun. Who will be able to hold on to the power to claim victory? Yeah, this one's fun. It's very fast-paced. There's a lot going on. It's very chaotic. I don't even know what's happening a lot of time, but you just run around, throw the thing, and it's... when you zone in, you'll get the quest Something Different to win a PvP brawl, which will reward you with Conquest, Honor, and Marks of Honor. The other events for this week, we have the Dark Moon Fair, which is in town. It's there now, started on Sunday, and it will run through Saturday, June 7th. So make sure you get over there, get your skill points, get your knowledge points, get your reputation and XP buff by riding the merry-go-round or the roller coaster. You can get shot out of the cannon. You can check out the heavy metal concerts. You can fight the heavy metal knights. You can fly through the rings. There's a race that goes around the island. Dark Moon Fair is always fun. Love it. Love the Dark Moon Fair. And finally, we have the 1,000 Boat Bash. So this one's really cool because basically you go out to 1,000 Needles where there's the giant barge in the middle of the now lake, which used to be the Shimmering Flats. And there's some quests that you can do. And basically you'll get a boat that will, every time you go underwater, you automatically get a boat. And then you go on land and the boat goes away. and this will last for 3 days from June 6th to June 8th. So go check it out. It's just a little fun little frivolity, but the cool part is anytime you touch water, you automatically get a boat. I don't know if it works in Kaz-Elgar, but it's worth checking out. So 1000 Boat Bash is coming to Azeroth. And there you go. That's the news for the week. There's like I said, there's not a ton going on right now. Everything's kind of in stasis. We've had Season of Discovery, which we got the news last week that it was the development for that was going away. And so what does that mean for Season of Discovery? We're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk a little bit more about combat add-ons and the weak auras. And the way that I want to tie all this together is, well, I'll get into it. So let's get into the main topic of the week.
It's time for the main topic of the week.
All right, so I recorded this segment before Raid, and right before the Raid started, I checked everything to make sure we were good to upload to RSS, and I realized that this entire segment had scuffed audio. So I am now making the difficult choice to re-record this segment rather than trying to salvage what I already recorded. It's always tough to re-record something because you don't exactly remember what you said the first time, and so it tends to get a little hickly, as my kids used to say. So I'm going to do the best I can to recreate the previous segment, but there will be things that I forget that I think that I said because I said it last time, but turns out I didn't. So anyway, all right. Let's talk about Season of Discovery and the War Within and Blizzard's war against add-ons and how this all ties together. So let's start with Season of Discovery. So Blizzard, or actually the WoW Classic dev team, posted this on Twitter, and it's a very interesting message that got sent. It's a blog article. It just got tweeted out. It says, "Greetings. As you may have read here, we're excited to offer those of you who have completed the Balnazar encounter in the Scarlet Enclave raid a free Mists of Pandaria Classic boost," which is great. "We believe that would be a great capstone for Season of Discovery to offer those of you who are looking to embark on your next Classic adventure this opportunity to hop into Mists Classic right away when it launches. When we look back on the journey we've taken in Season of Discovery, we are incredibly proud of this time we got to spend with all of you in this unique take on the original version of World of Warcraft. From the first moments that players sat down at the demo stations at BlizzCon in 2023, we knew we had something special, and it's wild to think that it has been over 18 months since we announced it." Yeah, it is kind of wild to think about that. "When we think about the impact that Season of Discovery will ultimately have on World of Warcraft, we think about how it helped prove something that a lot of us already knew. There was an enormous appetite for new experiences set against the backdrop of original World of Warcraft. As soon as the realms went live and we saw the response, we knew we had an unprecedented opportunity to immerse ourselves in new concepts and ideas and see what works and what doesn't. Several months ago, as we wrapped up development on Naxxramas and Karazhan Crypts, we had originally planned for there to be a final content update in Season of Discovery. We had originally planned for that to be the final content update in Season of Discovery. However, we couldn't let go of the one major unrealized dream for Season of Discovery, the Scarlet Enclave. We looked at our schedule and decided to take a risk in order to make the time to create this new raid tier and ultimately really punctuate the Season of Discovery experience with something special. We are very glad we did. It has been incredibly fun to play and progress through new content with you." So, first off, I really like the fact that they called an audible on this. They said, "No, you know what? We're not done. We had this idea, it never got fully realized. Let's do it." Now, when the Scarlet Enclave raid released, there was obviously some problems with it in terms of the difficulty and the accessibility by the player base. But you know what? Those things always work out. Players are so tight on, "Oh my gosh, this has to be solved now." we went weeks or months with with bugs in the game back in vanilla. So if you want the vanilla experience, this is it. Season of Discovery was a success beyond our wildest imagination back in 2023. We learned so much, we grew as a team both literally and figuratively, and we've been invigorated for the future like never before. That future of Season of Discovery is somewhat bittersweet, as we've made the decision to slow down on Season of Discovery and begin work on our next major project in the original WoW design space. Now, that paragraph is a lot to unpack. So first off, they didn't realize it was going to be this big of a success as it was. And it was a big success, make no mistake. They literally grew their team because of the development on Season of Discovery. So say what you will about, oh, WoW Classic, it's just 2 developers in a back closet somewhere. No, this is a real development team, and they grew the development team in order to produce Season of Discovery. And love it or hate it, it was development in Classic WoW. Now, the difficult part. They are canceling any, or they say slow down. They are slowing down on Season of Discovery. And by that, they mean they're not going to do anything else. There might be some updates, some hot fixes, things like that, but there's not going to be any new content. They're not developing anything new. They're not making a bunch of new runes or a bunch of new weapons. This is it. It's done. Season of Discovery is now over. But they're going to begin work on the next major project in the original WoW design space. Now, they can't say Classic Plus because at the end of the day, I don't think Blizzard is even going to call it Classic Plus. I think they have to come up with a different name, but that's their way of saying, hey, we realize that this is going to work, but this isn't the format that we want to deliver Classic Plus in. So just know that we are going to slow down Season of Discovery so that we can work on Classic Plus, which is great. And Season of Discovery was huge. If you compare the 2 seasonal servers between Season of Mastery and Season of Discovery, it's no contest. Season of Discovery was by a huge amount a bigger and more successful seasonal server for World of Warcraft. It's not even close. So, what does this all mean? We have big plans and big ambitions for this type of found photographs content set in the original world of Azeroth, but in order to realize those ambitions, we need to make sure we're spending our time where it will make the most impact on the long-term future of WoW Classic. We want to set ourselves up for success by taking the time we need to get in the proverbial kitchen and cook, iterate on, and shape our ideas and lessons learned from Season of Discovery into something truly exciting. In other words, it's going to take a long time. So don't expect Classic Plus tomorrow. Don't expect Classic Plus this year. Maybe not even next year. It's going to take time because what that's saying there is they want to get in there and they want to really, truly make it work. Not Season of Discovery where they were just trying stuff. Well, does this work? Oh, yeah, that's cool. That worked. Oh, well, that didn't really work. They want to really put the time, energy, and effort into this and develop a proper Classic Plus game mode, for lack of a better term. And I think that's the right choice. I really do. I think Blizzard has had enough of this recent stretch of just throwing things out. I mean, look at retail. The Dastardly Duos is a perfect example. Yeah, it's fleshed out and there's a lot of things that are designed for it, but the gameplay itself, who sat down and said this is going to be super engaging for WoW players? Nobody. Nobody thought that. But this is the content that Blizzard is offering right now. Horrific Visions. Let's just recycle Battle for Azeroth content. If they sat down and really thought it through, they would have realized that's actually a terrible idea. Yeah, you want to do Horrific Visions, you want to redo them, you have to update them. You can't just put the same thing back in there, make sure that it works without your cloak, and you're good. No, I'm sorry, that's not what we want. So, Season of Discovery was always meant to be an ephemeral seasonal experience, and while it became so much more for a time, we're extremely excited about the things we're working on for the future. So there you go. We have no plans to shut down the Sod Realms, and we hope to see the game mode continue to operate similar to WoW Classic era for many months, if not years to come. We've all grown attached to our characters just like you have, and we're happy to continue to adventure with you for as long as you'd like. Okay, so like I said, there's a lot to unpack. First of all, this is their way of saying, okay, there's not going to be anything new for Season of Discovery, but the servers are not going away. You can keep your characters there forever. It's going to be like Classic era, but it's Sod era. Okay, well, we knew that. We kind of knew at a certain point that that was going to be how Blizzard handled this. We're not going to do transfers. We're not going to change things around. Now, what does Season of Discovery have to do with combat systems in WoW and the weak auras and the one button rotation that Blizzard is adding to the War Within in patch 11.1.7? Well, I'm glad you asked. Because here's the thing. I've been thinking about this a lot. And if you break down the combat systems in WoW and you look at, so if you've never played vanilla WoW, if you never played original classic level 60 WoW, not an expansion, just what was released in 2004. The combat system in it is rudimentary to say the least. If you are a physical damage class, melee, warrior, rogue, paladin, shaman, hunter, feral druid, you basically do damage to the mobs by auto attacking them. You right click on them, or in the case of a hunter, you trigger auto shot, and that's your main damage to the mobs. You're not doing all of this jumping through hoops, pushing 20 buttons like in modern WoW. It's a simple, that's your damage. Now, you have to do other things to enhance that damage. Otherwise, you're just going to get, they call it white damage, and it's not going to be very much in terms of your overall damage output. You'll do, if you literally just sat there and auto attack the boss, you could probably do okay in some of these raids. Different classes have different abilities. So for a warrior, you have like Mortal Strike or Bloodthirst. For a hunter, you have Aim Shot and Multi-Shot. Different classes have different abilities that you're going to use, and those abilities will increase the amount of damage that you're doing. Maybe you're using Slice and Dice to increase or to spread your damage across multiple targets, things like that. Not Slice and Dice, that's the rogue one. I can't remember what the warrior one is called. It doesn't matter. The point is, there are things you can do to enhance your damage in vanilla, and you have to learn those. They might cost resource, like in the case of a warrior, it's going to cost you rage. In the case of a rogue, it's going to cost you energy. In the case of a hunter, it's going to cost you mana. And that's your finite resource. Now, for, say, a rogue and a warrior, that resource is replenishable over time. For a hunter, you have to use spirit to regen or take a mana potion, things like that. Anyway, that's not the point. The point is that the damage and the combat system in vanilla WoW are very rudimentary, very simple. Nothing like modern WoW. Nothing like the actions per minute extravaganza that is modern World of Warcraft. However, Season of Discovery took that original idea of, hey, here's a very basic, simple combat system, and they turned it on its head. It still functions the same way. It's like the same core of the combat system, but now it's something else, something new. It's enhanced. You have new abilities that you're going to use. You have cooldowns that you can use. You have extra attacks that stack on top of each other that increase your damage in a way similar to modern WoW. It's a step in that direction. I would say it's equivalent to what we got in the Burning Crusade. When we got the Burning Crusade and everybody had new talents and the talent trees and they got new abilities, it enhanced a lot of classes and what they could do. Hunters got Steady Shot. Paladins got Crusader Strike, I think. the point is, it was an enhancement to what was already existing. What Season of Discovery did, though, is it expanded that horizontally. We got a bunch of things because we had a lot of runes that we were able to use. And because we had all these runes, we were able to do a lot more damage. It made the game more engaging. It made the game more fun in a lot of ways. Now, I gave up on Season of Discovery, and I've said this before. It was really tough for me. I couldn't get into it. I got to level 47, I think, is where I ended up on my Paladin. By the time I came back, the Green Dragons had already released, so I couldn't do the Dream Portals anymore. And I got frustrated and I said, forget it, I'm not doing this. And now, Season of Discovery is dying. If you go back to what was said by the WoW dev team, we have no plans to shut down the Season of Discovery realms, and we hope to see the game mode continue to operate similar to WoW Classic era for many months, if not years to come. We've all grown attached to our characters, just like you have, and we're happy to continue to adventure with you for as long as you'd like. Well, the truth is, nobody's going to continue because there's no future for it. It has no future. The anniversary servers have a future. We know that we're going to get the Burning Crusade sometime next year. We're probably going to get Wrath of the Lich King. See, it's 1:00 in the morning and I'm trying to finish this podcast. We're going to get Wrath of the Lich King at some point in maybe 2027 or so. We're assuming. We don't know for sure. But we do have a future. We have a plan in place. And what Blizzard decided to do is, instead of trying to turn Season of Discovery into Classic Plus, they decided to just cancel it and basically start over. So, and that's fine. But in terms of the combat system, whatever Blizzard decides to do for Classic Plus, whether they utilize the existing Classic combat system and they say, okay, this is what we're going to do, and we're going to model it on Season of Discovery, so we're going to give you some new abilities that you can use, but it's the same basic combat system. Auto attacking for melee classes, casting 1, maybe 2 spells for casters, casting 1, maybe 2 heals for healers. If you play modern WoW, you know that as a healer, for example, you have to cast somewhere between 4 and 10 different healing spells in a particular fight. You have your AoE spell, you have your direct target spell, you have your healing over time spell, you have your cooldown healing spell, you have your instant cast, you have your big healing spell, you have your medium cooldown healing spell. There's a lot of different things you have to use in order to be successful as a healer in World of Warcraft. In vanilla, all you had to do was spam your heals. Spam whatever heal is your best heal. In the case of, like, say, a paladin, it was Flash of Light. For a priest, it would be Flash Heal, things like that. That's all you have to do. The fights don't last long enough. You're not going to run out of mana unless the fight drags on because you're not doing enough damage, your team is not doing enough damage, or your tank is struggling because their gear is not good enough, or maybe they're inexperienced. There are a lot of reasons why you could run out of mana in vanilla WoW, but the reality is, by and large, these fights don't last long enough for you to run out of mana. We had a Boom Chicken in our group tonight in Zul'Gurub. Switched over to Boom Chicken. He was number 2 on the damage for most fights. So, you know, just saying. So anyway, Season of Discovery kind of iterated on that, and it gave a insight into the future of what a Classic Plus could look like. Now, if you go back to the War Within and you say, okay, so Blizzard they have said they are basically declaring war on add-ons. They want to get rid of all these add-ons and they want to dumb down the game. This is basically what the community has taken from what Blizzard said. This is what was posted on the WoW UI Dev Discord from the WoW team. Okay. And this was posted by the WeakAura's team. So it says, first of all, thank you all for your feedback so far about the upcoming add-on changes. We've been reading it all and discussing it internally, and we'll continue to do so. Also, a special thanks to the mods for setting up the add-on restrictions feedback channel. Consolidating your most important feedback about this project into one place not only makes reading the feedback easier for us, but also reduces the likelihood that the feedback will get lost amongst other chat. Great. That's great. They're listening to the feedback, they're reading it, they're taking it in. Reading through your feedback so far, it is clear that there's a lot of confusion about the timing, goals, and nature of these changes. Talking about getting rid of add-ons and modifying the combat system by building things into the default UI for World of Warcraft. While our communication on these changes so far has been intended for more for the press and general player base, we also understand that it would greatly benefit you as add-on developers to have a little more clarity. We also hope this clarity better informs your feedback going forward. Please understand that this project is in heavy development right now, so we won't be able to give specific technical details just yet, exactly which things will be locked down, etc. We'll be releasing this more detailed information in the future, though, well before the project goes live, so stay tuned for those details in the coming months. Although we haven't finalized a target release date for these changes, what we can say is that we'll be giving many months of advance notice before we flip the switch. We want to allow the add-on devs as much time as possible to test the changes, report issues, and provide feedback. We will be announcing the landing place for these changes well ahead of time and taking steps to maximize the amount of hands-on feedback from add-on developers before changes go live. Here's the problem. Blizzard is basically saying, trust me, bro. And the add-on developers are saying, we don't trust you. So there's a little bit of a problem here in that the Blizzard's communication so far has been for a more of a press release and generic audience, news article, that sort of thing, grabbing a headline. The average player doesn't really understand all of the behind the scenes stuff and the technical aspects of building an add-on, what these add-ons do, how they work, things like that. So, and that's fine. So if Blizzard is saying, hey, trust us though, we're going to give you plenty of notice. We're going to tell you exactly what's going on when the time is right. But at the time is not right now. In other words, settle down, calm down. We will let you know, we promise. And the add-on community is not thrilled with this. So, because honestly, in a lot of cases, these people are doing this volunteer. So Blizzard is coming to these people who are volunteers and saying, hey, we're going to be changing a lot of stuff and making you guys do a whole bunch of work, but we're not going to give you any details until later, but trust us, it's going to be enough time for you to be able to do it. I understand why these people are frustrated. I really do. And not everyone's mad or frustrated, but there is a general sense of, I don't know, I don't think this is a good idea. Blizzard continues on. Add-ons provide a huge amount of value to our player, and we have no intention of banning them or anything like that. We are aiming to cause the least amount of collateral damage possible to add-ons when these changes go live. We know there will be some unintended fallout for add-ons that are not directly targeted by these changes, but we will be actively taking steps to minimize that damage as much as possible. Your feedback here is vital since you obviously know best which APIs you currently use and for what purpose. Likewise, we aim to minimize the impact on accessibility add-ons as much as possible. Functionality in this space, which is no longer possible after these changes, are things we will aim to incorporate into our base game. So again, Blizzard is saying, trust us. We know what we're doing, and we're taking our time, and we're going to do it slow, but you guys know what you need in terms of what you're using from the game, so we need to coordinate and communicate that with each other. This is really tough because, like I said, these are volunteers. These are people who are doing this for the love of World of Warcraft. Some people are being paid. Some people get money from CurseForge. Some people are getting paid to write add-ons just outright. But by and large, this is a bunch of volunteers, a bunch of people who give their time and effort into not only figuring this out, because Blizzard doesn't tell you what all these things do. They go in and figure it out, and then they build the add-on. And then Blizzard puts out an update which breaks it, and then they have to go in and modify it and fix it and have it working. So one of the things they say here is, we're aiming to cause the least amount of collateral damage possible to add-ons when these changes go live, which is ridiculous because Blizzard never does anything in WoW that is isolated to one thing. It always has some sort of secondary effect. There's always something else that gets changed, modified, updated, whether it's a table of information or a script that's going to run and do a certain thing. There's always something that Blizzard could change that could break 10 things, 20 things, 50 things, 100 things. And so while they obviously want to minimize that damage, they can't get rid of it. They just can't. They can't prevent it from happening. It's not possible. You know, when we talked about WoW 2 and what that would look like, this is one of the reasons why, is because Blizzard, this is all spaghetti code. You make a change on something and you're like, I'm only changing this one thing. Well, you don't know. Maybe something else is relying on that and then it's going to break. It could even be a component in the game. This isn't just add-ons. Blizzard breaks their own game sometimes. All right. We have seen speculation that we are primarily targeting Race to World First guilds with these changes. While it is true that Mythic raiding has become increasingly reliant on add-ons, that is not the primary goal of this project. We are embarking on this project with the aim of leveling the playing field and making the game more approachable for all players. Currently, add-ons are able to analyze and solve, air quotes, combat and coordination mechanics perfectly and faster than would be possible for an unassisted human player. While many players will naturally seek out any advantage, this also means that players who don't use these add-ons are at a huge disadvantage. Many players will end up feeling excluded from competitive content unless they install, set up, and maintain a number of add-ons. This is a significant barrier to entry, and we have heard growing feedback over the years from players who resent feeling like they need add-ons to play the game properly. This project is about doing everything we can to shrink that gap by building up the baseline functionality of the UI, while also reining in the optimal problem-solving capabilities of the add-on API. We will also be making substantial changes to how we design our combat and encounters to accompany these add-on changes. They're talking about dumbing down the game. Removing the ability for add-ons to solve most encounter mechanics means that we can also take a different approach to the design of our encounters going forward. The same goes for certain class mechanics, blah, 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 blah. Basically, what it boils down to is they know they're going to change the game to accommodate this, and they just don't want add-ons solving things for you. They don't want an add-on that says, if everyone has the add-on installed, then it communicates with every person's game client will communicate through the add-on and say, okay, you got to do this. Blizzard doesn't want that. They want you to have to figure it out for yourself. You know, I mentioned this a couple weeks ago, that if you had a monster saying, I'm going to kill you, that's the signal that he's going to do his big move. And somebody pointed out, if you're playing without sound, you're not going to hear that. And that's true. You're not going to hear that. But that's one of the things that these add-ons have allowed. They've allowed people to not have to rely on cues within the game because the add-on tells you exactly what's going to happen. Big text, bonk, move to the center of the room. Okay, that's where I have to go. You're not thinking. You're just following orders. You're following the instructions of the add-on. The add-on is telling you what to do. So encounter design is a big part of this, but combat functionality is also a big part of this. And while Blizzard is talking about modifying their encounter design to accommodate a world with less add-on intrusiveness, the combat system in WoW, they have not talked about changing it. They've talked about maybe making it simpler or more accessible, granted, but they also put in the one-button rotation and the combat assistant, which is going to show you what spells to use next. So, all right. So we've gone on two sides of this. We've looked at the bare bones, simple, and some modifications to it with Season of Discovery. Blizzard is closing the Season of Discovery servers, so that's not going to be, I mean, the servers are still going to be around, but they essentially shut them down by saying there's no more content. Everybody left. So the servers will be around forever that you can go on and try things out, but you're never going to be able to do the content like you were previously because those servers are basically dead. And so what can we do? Where can we merge these two ideas together, where we need to simplify the game while still adding this extra functionality that we got in Season of Discovery, but not having it so complicated like in The War Within, where if you don't have a weak aura, you're never going to optimize your DPS. I don't care who says that they are doing, I parsed this and I don't have a single add-on. I'm calling BS on that. It's not something that's possible to do without assistance. It's not. The game is too complex. Your eyes moving around your screen, looking at your buffs, and then looking down at your toolbars. If you're using the default interface, you have to move your eyes too much. You are going to lose DPS. You're just going to. I don't care how awesome you are. If you're not using add-ons, you're losing DPS. And even if you have add-ons, it's not like you're ever going to do perfect DPS, because you're always going to make human error. You have human reaction times, human slowness, something distracts you, whatever it is. It's impossible to have a perfect combat rotation. It's impossible. So how can Blizzard take what they created in Season of Discovery and not only use that to fuel a Classic Plus in the next few years, but also use that same idea and concept to save the modern game? And I think I know the answer. At least this is my suggestion. If you don't like my suggestion, that's okay. You don't have to. But I saw this and I thought, if I was Blizzard, this is what I would be trying to do. So I've talked a lot about how Mists of Pandaria was the last time that I raided competitively in WoW. Did Throne of Thunder, started Siege of Orgrimmar, but by that point we were having fallout issues with the guild that I was in, and that was it. So I was playing Cataclysm Classic, as one does. I have my paladin that I've leveled up. I was playing my hunter, and I noticed as I was going through it, I was like, this still feels like Classic. Cataclysm was, it felt like a bridge between Season of Discovery and modern WoW. It's like that in between, because Season of Discovery is still using the original combat system. Cataclysm is still using it too, but it's a lot more enhanced. There's a lot more smoothness to it, a lot more functionality to it. But it's still that original system where you have to auto attack or you're casting one main spell. You don't have that fluid combat system that you do in modern WoW. When I went on to the Mists of Pandaria Classic Beta, though, and I tried playing a couple of different classes, 85, 90, different things. I was just playing around, not doing anything serious. I noticed something, and that was that the combat was so good. It felt good. It felt smooth. It felt strong. I enjoyed every class that I played, even though I didn't really know what I was doing, because the game was simple enough for me to figure it out by just looking at my bars. Oh, I should do this, and I should attack with this, and this one needs to go next. Was I optimizing my DPS? No, of course not. There are so many things left on the table that I'm sure I didn't think of or know how to use. But it was simple enough to understand that I could do well enough damage to clear all my quests, to be competitive in a dungeon, to do the things that I wanted to do, and not have to worry about, oh my gosh, am I getting my rotation right? No, if you want to sit there and spam buttons, you could do it in Mists of Pandaria. It's doable. You're never going to be, it's not going to be optimized, but you could do it. So where am I going with all this? Well, I think it's pretty clear that what I'm saying is, if WoW were to take the changes in the design concepts of Season of Discovery and the current iteration of the game in the War Within, and you merge those together, where do you end up? Mists of Pandaria. And I'm not saying Mists of Pandaria Classic is going to save WoW. Far from it. A lot of people don't like the aesthetic of Mists of Pandaria. A lot of people don't like the story. There are a lot of things that people don't like about Mists of Pandaria, but the one thing that I never hear people complain about is the gameplay. The gameplay at that time in WoW was so good. It felt good. And people are going to get onto Mists of Pandaria Classic and they're going to mess around and they're going to go, wow, this feels like modern WoW, but not super complex, because that's what it is. So if Blizzard wants to eliminate add-ons, but keep some of that essence of what was in Season of Discovery. If they take some of those abilities that maybe work a little bit better than what's in Modern WoW, maybe they're simplified versions of them, and so you can use them in a more fun and interesting way, and merge that with the some of the components of Modern WoW. You merge all that together, and you're going to get a Mists of Pandaria-like combat system. And that is what I think WoW needs to go to. We don't need to go through this massive ability pruning that we did in Warlords of Draenor. Yeah, that was frustrating. And I'm not suggesting anything like that. What I'm saying is, let's simplify these rotations. Players should have utility spells that work in a specific circumstance. You shouldn't have 10, 12 attack spells. You should have 6. 6 at the most. 7 if you want to be really fancy. If you're a rogue, let's say. But your main attack spells, you should have about 4 to 6. You know, if you're a paladin, you have 4. If you're a rogue, you have 6. Something along those lines. And why am I arbitrarily picking a number? Because if you look at the combat system in the game during Mists of Pandaria, it's about what you had. Some classes were more complex, and they could bring those down. But it was about six moves, 6 abilities that you used in your rotation, in your standard rotation. I'm not talking about your opener. Your opener, you're going to have more things that you have to do. You've got buffs you got to put on. You've got things you have to prep. You know, if you're a hunter, you got to put your hunter's mark, stuff like that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about just your standard rotation, 4 to 6 buttons. Base. Use the builder and spender system in Mists of Pandaria, right? Warriors in vanilla, they had to stand there and hit the mobs and hope they got a crit so they could generate rage. We don't need to do that. You can use abilities to generate rage and then use other abilities that spend your rage. Same thing with Death Knight is a good example. They have two resource systems. A druid, a rogue, hunter, those are all using automatically generating resources. So you have to go cooldown based, and that's fine. Or you just let people use those abilities as often as they want, as long as they have their resource, focus, or energy. If you're a caster, yeah, okay, so mana is your primary resource. So you have things that are going to cost more mana than others. You have things that are going to increase the damage of you use this ability, increases the damage of your frost spells for the next 5 seconds or the next 10 seconds or whatever. That's fine. But you don't need 10 of those things, which is what you end up with in Modern WoW. So, all this to say that Blizzard needs to look to the past. They need to look at what came before. And I'm not saying strip down combat and make it like vanilla or Season of Discovery. And I'm also not saying just rely on the combat assistant and the one button rotation. No, I think those are both terrible ideas. Both the built-in add-on UI option and the strip everything out of the game and take us back to vanilla option. I think those are both bad ideas. I think that you could make a case for choosing between all of the different classes what would work and what wouldn't work in this context. Yeah, that's fine. You make a case-by-case situation. You go, okay, monks get this, that's fine. All right, Death Knights get that. Okay, that's fine. You know what? Paladins don't need that. They need this other thing. Okay, that's fine too. Make those decisions. But do it with the idea of Mists of Pandaria Classic in mind. Take us back to that time in a modern way. Just like if you remade a movie that was 10 years old, 15 years old, however old Mists of Pandaria is, 13 years old. You made a movie, did a remake of a movie that was 13 years old. You're going to try and capture the essence of that original movie. but you have to modernize it and give it something that's going to make it feel like it was made today. You don't want to try and make a period piece of an old movie or of a remake of an old movie. That's going to be weird. I mean, I guess you could do it, but it's going to be a little odd. So the combat system in WoW needs to be simplified. I feel like that is 100% the case. Is Miss Pandaria Classic the solution that we're looking for? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. I think it's a good place to start, though. As far as the add-ons themselves go, and the whole idea of Blizzard wanting to get rid of add-on functionality and the add-on developers being scared that Blizzard is going to screw this up, just know Blizzard is going to screw this up. And not because Blizzard is so incompetent, oh my gosh, they're a bunch of idiots. No, because this is too complicated to do it perfectly. There's no way Blizzard is going to pull this off and have it be so smooth and so perfect that everyone's going to just go, wow, you know what? Applause for Blizzard. They did it right. They did 100% perfect work. No, we're not going to get it perfect. So just prepare for things to be broken. Prepare for there to be issues. Prepare for encounters to be too hard because we don't have the correct add-on functionality to solve them anymore. Prepare for add-on or encounters to be too easy, as Blizzard is trying to figure out where that line is. At the end of the day, what it boils down to is Blizzard is trying to fix this game. Because if you watched the talk that Ian Hazzikostas gave at Nordic Game Conference 2 weeks ago, whatever it was. I mentioned it a couple episodes ago, but if you watch that talk, you'll see that he points out that if you piss off your player base because you're making changes for the future, you're like, oh, we have all these great ideas, but it's going to take us 3 years to implement everything. And it's going to be a little rocky right now, but trust us, in 3 years, it's going to be great. If you piss off all your player base in those 3 years, it doesn't matter how great your changes are going to be. You've screwed up your game and you've ruined it because you were thinking too long term, too far in the distance. You have to keep your concentration here and now. To quote Qui-Gon Jinn. Yes, you need to be mindful of the future, as Master Yoda said, but you also need to keep your concentration here and now. What's in front of you right now? These players. And what are they struggling with? Game's too complex. Encounters are too complex. They have to use add-ons to solve these things. That's your problem. How do you fix it? Getting rid of add-ons, obviously that's not the right answer, and that's not what they're trying to do. They're also not trying to dumb down all their content to make it so easy that people don't need the add-ons anymore. I don't care how easy you make the content. If you allow people to use add-ons, they will use them. No matter how simple it is. I use add-ons in Classic WoW on the anniversary servers. It's the simplest that WoW could be. I use add-ons for that. Why? Because it helps my DPS. Duh. I mean, what other reason would I have for using them? So, I've talked a lot here, and I've read a lot of words from Blizzard. And I think it's important that we really take these things in. We don't just ignore what's going on. We don't ignore the fact that Blizzard is essentially shuttering Season of Discovery. They're going to leave it up. Your character will live there forever, but it's closed. It's closed now. Players have moved on. They've moved it back to Anniversary. They've moved back to Cataclysm Classic. They've moved back to Hardcore, or they've moved back to Modern WoW, the War Within, or they've gone to do something else. They said, you know what? Screw Blizzard. I'm going to go play whatever the fuck the new game is. I don't know. So if you are looking at Blizzard and what they're doing right now, what is the closing of Season of Discovery mean? It means that they're going to be developing this new system for Classic Plus. Wow. They're developing a combat system to use. Huh. Interesting. I wonder if they could maybe collaborate with the Modern WoW team and they could come up with a combat system together that would really kind of smooth things over. You make it more vanilla-like in Classic Plus. You make it more modern-like in the War Within or Midnight or whenever this is going to happen. But long term, what you want to do is you want to have all versions of the game feel like WoW. You want them all to feel like World of Warcraft. You want the players to feel like they're playing the same game. Right now, if you go without add-ons, if you go from classic to retail WoW, you'll feel like you're playing a different game. You're like, what is this? Feels like some random JRPG. I don't know what it is. It's the truth. It's the truth. It's a different game. Yes, the sites are the same. The buildings look the same. Things like that. Sure. But the gameplay, vastly different. So, what can we do as individuals? How can we help with this? Give your feedback to Blizzard. Tell them what you think, even if it's based on just your own thoughts. If you said, hey, I've got these thoughts, and I listened to this podcast, and this podcaster had a bunch of nonsense that he was saying, but here's my thoughts. You could do that. You could tell them, here's what I think you should do with Classic Plus. Here's what I think you should do with Modern WoW. Here's how we need to solve this problem. Because make no mistake, it is a problem. It is a huge problem. I can't make an alt today in the War Within without having at least a rudimentary weak aura to help me know what the hell I'm supposed to do. I can't make a new character and just air quote figure it out on my own. I've got to go to Icy Veins. I've got to go to Wowhead. I've got to go to some site that tells me here's what your rotation should be. If I didn't read any websites and I just randomly decided, you know what, I feel like playing an arcane mage, how miserable am I going to be? How fun is the game going to be if I'm constantly just struggling with this super complex rotation? There's no reason for it to be this complex. This isn't an action RPG. This is an MMO. Yeah, you need good fluid combat, yes, but not what we have. And I'm not even getting into the whole Mythic Plus encounter design, because it's enough to just talk about raid encounter and that versus add-ons and how Blizzard is trying to fix that. Is Blizzard going to make mistakes? Yes. Is the community going to freak out? Yes. I don't think that either of those is really in doubt. But I believe, and I hope that you believe, that Blizzard at the end of the day wants World of Warcraft to be fun. They want it to be fun. They want it to be an enjoyable game. Most of the devs, most of the people who are on Team 2, the World of Warcraft team, they do play the game themselves. They do. A lot of them play the game in a completely normal capacity. It's not like, oh, I play on this private Blizzard servers where we can go do whatever we want. No, they're just playing regular WoW with their friends like a normal person. So, is there some sort of magical answer? No. We can't just say implement Mists of Pandaria combat system and we're solved. No, that's not the answer. There's a lot that still needs to go into this. And what Blizzard is saying is that it's going to take a long time. And I agree with that. Just like Classic Plus is going to take a long time to get it right. But if they are allowed to cook, we give them the time and they get in there and they really try to make these things work, I think we're going to end up with, one, a great modern game, and two, a great classic version of the game. Now, we haven't heard anything about what's going to happen to Classic after Season of Discovery's untimely demise. Here's what we have. We have Classic Era. It still exists. It's there. It's not going anywhere. It's not changing. It is what it is. We have Progression Classic, which right today is Cataclysm. In a month, it's going to be Mists of Pandaria. That's going to continue on. I have no doubt we're going to go through Warlords of Draenor. Maybe it'll be a 9-month quick run through. Maybe it won't. I don't know. I would say 9 months is about as long as I want to be in Warlords of Draenor. Speed up the garrison, speed up all those things. 9 months. That's all we need. And then we're going to get to Legion. And after Legion, what are we going to do? What's going to happen to Classic after Legion? Because if you think we're going to battle for Azeroth, I think that's crazy. And I think Blizzard knows that too. I think they have their sights set on Legion. And think it's really clear that that's going to be the future of Progression Classic is Legion, and then who knows? Maybe we'll end up with Legion era service. Maybe we'll end up with maybe everything will restart. I don't know. But if we get to Legion, and I've said this before, that I think that Classic should end with Legion. If Blizzard says we're not making any new expansions, guess what's going to happen to those Classic servers? We saw what just happened with Season of Discovery. They're going to die. And nobody's going to want to do anything on those servers anymore. I thought people were going to live forever on Legion, and that was going to be the future of Classic. No, I don't think so. I don't think that's going to happen now. Now that I've seen this, and like, oh, shoot, as soon as they say, okay, we're done with Legion, and we're not doing any more, Classic's going to die. At least this version of it, which is why they need to have Classic Plus ready to go. So that when they say Legion is closing, but we have Classic Plus is going to start right now, today, with this announcement. Go. Sure. I think that would basically solve the problem. So, anyway, there's a lot going on behind the scenes, a lot of talking. This isn't news necessarily. This is all kind of, these blog posts are tough because these developers get on there, and whether it's a developer or an intern writing the post, it doesn't matter. It's coming from the developers. And so, to see them try to fight these battles, to actually go in there and say, no, here's what we think, and not go, oh my gosh, you guys are right, we'll stop this whole thing, please don't be mad at us, add-on creators. No, they're going to tell you why they're doing what they're doing, and they should. This is still Blizzard's game. It's our game, and we feel, that sense of ownership that we have. But it's also Blizzard's game. They're the ones that are designing it. They're the ones that are building it. They're the ones that are modifying it. We have to accept that. It's just like Star Wars. I feel like I own Star Wars in terms of here's what I think Star Wars should be. But it's not mine. It belongs to Disney. Somebody at Disney is making those decisions. Used to be George Lucas, now it's Disney. People trash George Lucas because of the prequels. Oh, he doesn't even know what he's doing. He's a terrible filmmaker. He's not a terrible filmmaker. He gave you his vision. You just didn't like it. You didn't like the fact that there was a goofy character. Oh no. Whatever. All right. I'm going to go down a rabbit hole if I don't pull this back. All right. I think that's going to wrap up our show for today. Thank you so much for listening and for watching. I really do appreciate it. It is always a pleasure and a privilege for me to get on this microphone and speak to you. If you want to get a hold of me directly, you can reach me on Twitter or on Blue Sky. I am at Denethar on both of those platforms. If you have any questions or comments about the podcast and you have a particular topic that you'd like to hear discussed, or you want to correct me on something that I said, whatever it is, you can email us at azerothunitedpod@gmail.com. You can also check out our website. It's azerothunitedpod.com. I know it's confusing, but trust me, this is the best that I could do. Somebody owns azerothunited.com. I didn't look before I started the podcast. Maybe I should change the name. Whatever. If you want to help us out, if you're enjoying the show and you want to help us out, you could consider giving us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. If you do Spotify, you can give a rating and then you can comment on a specific episode, maybe the one that you liked or didn't like. If you have something negative to say, that's fine. Go ahead, put it out there. I'm happy to hear the negative feedback too. But just please don't give me like a really bad negative rating just because you don't like something I said. I'm trying really hard here, so that really screws over the distribution. So please don't do that. If you are watching us on YouTube, you can help us out by giving us a like and a subscribe on YouTube. That would be great. Amazing. I would love that. Thank you so much. If you are looking for more ways to help out, you could consider joining our Patreon. That's patreon.com/AzerothUnited. We have a couple different Patreon tiers, from a free tier up to our top level tier, which is friend of the show. And I'm going to call out our friend of the show patrons now because they are giving their IRL money to help support the show. We've got Judge Omni, Stuglife, Thelial, and Greybeard. Thank you all so much. You definitely help make Azeroth United possible. Really do appreciate it. And I think that's about it. So check out all of our links. AzerothUnitedPod.com. Got the Discord, got the Patreon. All that stuff is on there. That's about it. So Like I said before, still dealing with trying to figure out the best scheduling for this. The weather has been really brutal, not helping. It's still 80 degrees at 1 o'clock in the morning or 1:30 in the morning. So that's not fun, but yeah, I'll make it work. So, all right. Remember to be good to each other out there. That's a real person on the other side of that keyboard, and maybe they like the modern WoW combat system and you like vanilla WoW, and you guys can just meet in the middle and just create pandas together and get your free mount in the War Within for your free Pandaria mount by creating a Pandarin when Miss Pandaria Classic comes out in July 21st. So anyway, but that's what I'm saying. Just be nice to each other. It doesn't hurt to smile and to be kind. So, all right, take care. I love you all, and I'll see you in Azeroth.